Hello, welcome back. So today we are going to be talking about kind of my end of the year TBR and the books that I definitely want to get through before the year ends. I know I have all of next year to read them too, but this is kind of my goal. There are like 10 books, which is kind of a lot for like a month and a half because it's already like mid-November. We will see how far or which ones I do end up getting through. Hopefully it's all of them. Probably won't be, but we're keeping our fingers crossed. Dropped my ring. Look how cute this is. I got this in Mexico City and it's like so cute. Anyway, let's get started. The first two books I'm going to talk about are a little series, and you probably have already guessed it. It is going to be Fourth Wing and Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. I am probably the last bookish person on this planet who hasn't read these books yet, or at least Fourth Wing. The reason why it took me so long to even get these books, I literally got them last week, was because by the time I was interested in reading Fourth Wing, I tried to get the Dragon Sprayed Edges, and obviously those sold out so quickly. So I was like, dang it, like I don't want the book if I don't have the beautiful sprayed edges. So I literally punished myself and didn't ever buy it. I didn't even try putting it on hold at the library because, come on, this is like the most popular book of the year. So that's gonna take me 4 years to get at the library. But then they released this one, which is like a holiday edition, special edition. It has like all black sprayed edges. And I conveniently was at Barnes & Noble last week and I saw like a table with the regular version of this one, so it's like the gold cover, this one, and then there was two freaking copies of Iron Flame. So I was like, you know what, if I'm gonna do it, I have to do it now. And I actually really love this edition. I think it's so much prettier than the regular gold, and they like contrast each other so well. So I'm very excited. I actually already started this one like a few days ago. I'm 76 pages in, so still pretty new to it. I'm not a huge fantasy reader. I've only really ever read like the Game of Thrones books because I've watched the series like 4 times. So, you know, I have background on those characters. I know who most of them are. I know kind of what happens, but this is very intimidating because, well, that's the reason I don't really read fantasy. It's just, it's intimidating. There's so many characters. There's a whole, you know, world building and whatnot, but this one isn't too bad yet. I did get a little overwhelmed at first, but honestly, it's been not that hard to like kind of get a hang of it. Started reading it, page 76. So far, it's really good, and hopefully I can finish it soon and then start this one, even though this one is so much bigger and like a lot chunkier than Fourth Wing. Sadly, I feel like I already got like 2 things spoiled for me for this book because I was being dumb and I was on bookstagram looking up like Fourth Wing. Everyone was posting about these books this weekend, so I figured, like I got 2 things spoiled for me, but I'm gonna still read it and hopefully I get through both of them by the end of the year. Next up is another hardback copy of this. It's Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. This has been on my TBR like 3 different times this year. I don't know why. Maybe it intimidates me. I've heard like obviously really good things about this book, super popular. And then I've heard some things that it's like, it's okay, like might be a little overhyped. It does sound very interesting. It's about like 2 video game makers, and they're not like in a relationship or lovers or anything, but it's about their relationship or friendship with each other and just life, like the ups, the downs, everything through their very lucrative career of like being video game developers. So sounds really interesting, and I am not, it just kind of sounds like literary fiction, and I'm not the biggest fan of that, but I mean, it's so popular that you have to wonder why. So I'm definitely, hopefully gonna read this soon. Hopefully I get it done by the year so I don't like, I just have so much FOMO. Like everyone talks about this book and I just wanna know why. So on the TBR for sure. Next up is Love Theoretically by Hazelwood. Now this book I have not read, obviously. She actually just had a new release. I believe it's Check and Mate. That one's more like a YA romance, and I'm not the biggest fan of YA, so I don't even think I'm gonna read that one. But I do wanna read this one. It's another STEM romance. If you follow Hazelwood, you know her other, I believe 2 books are STEM romances, Love on the Brain and The Love Hypothesis. And I've read both of those and I really enjoyed them. They're usually like quick-paced books. And they're cool, they're interesting, they're like funny. This is giving like, maybe it's the orange cover, but it's giving like, you know, November vibes. So hopefully I can read this soon. I haven't read too many romances like in the last month, which is really surprising, even though it is my favorite genre. So maybe I will read this one soon and just kind of knock it out, and that will be great. But until then, this is on the TBR. Next up is a book that kind of surprises me, but it's this one. It's called, is it called Tom Lake? Yeah, it's called Tom Lake, a novel, I think by Patchett is the author. No, that's the whole, yes, it's called Tom Lake. Excuse me, it's called Tom Lake, and it's a Reese's Book Club pick. I think this was the pick like a few months ago. It is November, so I think maybe in like July or something, this was the pick, and I didn't really pay too much attention to it. It looks like whatevers. I think it's also like a literary fiction. It literally takes place in 2020, so it's very, very recent. But then I kept seeing people like talk about it and review it, and a lot of people have said that they really like this book, so I figured, I guess I'll check it out. I grabbed it at the library yesterday, so I do have it for a few weeks, and I'm a really big fan of Reese's Book Club. I don't know if you guys know that, but I'm a huge fan. Usually I end up loving like all the Reese's Book Club books that I do pick up, so I'm trying to get through this one, especially since I kind of have like a due date of having to return this in I think 3 weeks. Maybe it'll be a quick read. It's not too long. It's like 300 pages right about, so should be kind of quick, and it's definitely intriguing. So hopefully I finish this by the end of the year. Next up is Wildfire by Miss Hannah Grace. Now, I actually read Icebreaker, which is her first book. I think she's only written 2, Icebreaker and then this one, Wildfire. I read Icebreaker like a month or 2 ago, and I think I rated it like 4.5 stars. It was a really good romance. It was like nothing too crazy, but I did enjoy it in the moment, and I do find myself thinking back to it, and it just makes me want to read this so much more. Plus, the cover is giving like life. Like, look at these vibes. It's a beautiful cover, so it just makes me want to read this so badly, and I actually really enjoyed Hannah Grace's writing, so I think that's a part of it too, the reason why I really want to read this. Oh, plus, I think this is the major reason is because it takes place at like a summer camp, which I know it's not very like end of the year vibe, but I did hear someone say that it does still give like end of the year vibes, if you know what I mean. So it still fits in, but regardless, summer camp, I just remember when I was like a teenager in high school and I would read like YA books, and a lot of them took place at like summer camp, and that was like, I loved those books. So I think that's my driving like force behind wanting to read this, is the fact that it takes place at summer camp. And also, one of the characters in Icebreaker is like the main character in this book, or like one of the 2 main characters. So if you do want to read this, I suggest reading Icebreaker first. But it's just giving the summer camp vibes. It's a romance. Like, this is literally my cup of tea. Oh my gosh, I literally want to like just jump into it now. Next up is like another romance, but it's a very, very popular one. It is Addicted to You by Krista and Becca Ritchie. This is a part of the Addicted series. I only have this book in the series. This is the only one that I have, and it's the first book in the series. So I have to read it and then see if I want to continue it. But essentially, it's 2 people. The female, she's addicted to sex, and the male is addicted to booze, so like alcohol. It sounds very toxic, and I'm pretty sure they get together. They both have these addictions, but like, I don't know, it just sounds really, really toxic. And I've heard that a lot, is that like these characters, what they're living through. But I think that's also kind of a reason why I want to read this book, is because most of the romances that I do read, the characters are more or less like perfect, not perfect, but they have like, things are going well for them, they're young, they have it's first romance, best friend to lovers romance. But this is like, they clearly have like flaws and complicated situations that they have to work through to better themselves. So I cannot imagine throwing them into a relationship together. So, and I've heard so many things about this series. I just want to read this. And it's a Berkeley Publishing House book, and they're one of my favorite publishing houses for romance books. So, can't wait. All these books, I'm telling you, they're on my end of the year TBR for a reason, because now like just really sitting with them and thinking about them, like I just want to start them. But I might start one today. I am reading Fourth Wing, but I think while I'm reading that, I might start like a romance, just like, lighten things up, pick things up, change things up. Maybe not this one though, because it sounds kind of toxic. Next up is actually like a holiday read, which I'm really excited about. During December, I usually like to read like holiday reads, because of course it's like Christmas time, the holidays, and I will probably buy books next month and read those as well, or in place of these. I don't know, I'm very much a mood reader. So these are on my TBR, but we'll kind of see what the final result is, right? But the reason I bring that up is because this next one is a holiday read, but it's also in this video. So it's definitely on my TBR. And it is going to be A Winter in New York. Like, look at that by Josie Silver. Now, Josie Silver is actually one of my favorite authors. She wrote One Day in December, The Two Lives of Lydia Bird, and there's another one that I'm thinking about that I also read, but I can't think of the title right now. But I actually read her whole backlist after I read One Day in December, which if you have not read that book, it was also a Reese's Book Club pick, and it's a very much December Christmas vibe. So I definitely recommend that if you want something like romancy, but it also deals with like some tough shit that's like, I loved that book. Like, I cannot stop thinking about that book, and this gives very much similar vibes. So I think that's why I really want to read this. Love the author. It takes place in New York, which I love New York. Been there a few times and can't resist. And I think the author is like a chef or a baker. So I think that's really cool and interesting. I haven't read very many books about someone with that profession. It's her newest release. I think she released it like a month ago. I think it was released in October, so it's brand new and it's the perfect holiday read. Next up, I'm flying through these, but like I said, there's like 11 books that I really want to read by the end of the year, and it is mid-November, so we'll really just see what happens from here until then, but I'm gonna try to stick to mostly these. Next book is this one. It is Graysons Vow by Mia Sheridan. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I really don't have a clue what this is about, and I didn't pick it up because I've heard about it or anything, but Mia Sheridan is the author of Archer's Voice, which I read earlier this year, and it is now like one of, if not my favorite book. It's a romance, and if you haven't read that book, you should read it, absolutely. But the reason I picked this one up was because it's the same author, and I was reading the back and it gives kind of similar vibes. And the male like love interest, I'm assuming, is a convicted felon, which I'm like, that's really interesting. I have not really read books about that. I do have a major, or like my degree is in criminal justice, so that always does kind of like pique my interest. So definitely grab this, hoping to read this soon because Mia Sheridan, again, is like amazing. I've only read one book by her, but that's why I picked this up too, is because I want to read it and see what I think about her writing, if it was just like a one thing with Archer's Voice that I really enjoyed, or if I'm gonna just love her writing in other books. It is a romance. It says, some vows are meant to be broken, but others are worth risking everything for, even your heart. So this sounds like my cup of tea. It's a little thicker than like other books, but not, it's less than 400. It's like around 400 pages exactly. So there's this one also. Small little reason why I also want to read this book is because I did like a little template of like ABC reads. So books throughout the year that I've read with like start with the letter A, B, C, and G is actually one of the letters that I have not completed. So that's also a small reason why this is on my TBR and why I want to read this. We're coming down to the very last book. Now this book is a part of a series, also very popular. I've had these books for a few months now and I just haven't even, I haven't started the first one, but I think it's time. That is Magnolia Parks. It's the Magnolia Parks universe. I have all of the books actually. I just haven't started them. So I ordered them because I knew I wanted to read them eventually, and I bought them, pulled the trigger because of the new covers. I wanted the OG. So like once they announced the new covers, they like kind of said there was miscommunication. I don't know if it's still true that they were gonna discontinue these ones. And I don't even know if they're still selling these or if it's just the new ones that they're selling. So I really wanted this cover in all of the books. So I ordered all of them. Again, it's another one of those series that's clearly super hyped. But this sounds very much me. I'm a huge fan of Gossip Girl. It's top 3 favorite shows for me, tied with like Friends and Game of Thrones, so it's like up there, and this is giving those vibes. It says, she's a beautiful, self-involved, and mildly neurotic London socialite, Britain's most photographed bad boy who broke her heart. Magnolia Parks and BJ Valentine are meant to be, aren't they? Like, is that not Blair Waldorf and Chuck Bass, right? So yeah, definitely excited to read this. There's been a few times where I picked this book up and was like, I'm gonna read it. and I just haven't. This is on my like October TBR, this is on my this month's TBR. Maybe this is the one that I will pick up while I'm reading Fourth Wing, because like, oh, I need to read this. And it doesn't seem like, look at the, I feel like it's kind of like short on the page. I don't know. I'm literally gonna start this today, I think. So yep, this is the last book on my TBR. Again, I am very much a mood reader, so we'll see how much, almost dropped them all. We'll see how far I get, but I'm super excited to potentially read these. And hopefully if you've read them, please let me know what was your favorite, which ones you liked, which ones you highly recommend, which ones you think I have to read before the year ends, and which ones you think I can pass on. But this is it. Oh my gosh, they're very heavy. This is it. This is all I got. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. I don't know what it will be, but it'll be on this channel. So there's that. Peace.